Good afternoon and welcome back to the finals for day one, round two of the 2026 BNL Karting Series season. Here we are at the Karting d'Espagne International Raceway, established back in the mid-1980s and is the second longest circuit on our calendar in 2026. Technical, fast-flowing and very, very close pack racing are hallmarks of this circuit of the seen a who's who come through its hallowed halls over the past few decades. Now we head to the last set of races, 4 finals in total here at the circuit located in the Corvin region, around about a 25-minute drive from the French border. Say, for example, if you wanted to drive away from here to go towards Philippeville, and then you head to Givet, which is just over the border in France. Our mini and mini rookie drivers are ready for their final race of the day before they come back tomorrow morning, and we'll start things off with time qualifying. Qualifying commences at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning local time, and then the qualifying heats will take place from about 11:15 tomorrow morning. So exactly the same time schedule as we have today. Of course, with regards to the traditional way that things run on the BNL Karting Series season, well, the engines are now fired up. The drivers on their way out of the dummy grid as we get set and ready for the 12-minute plus an additional lap final. And here is your starting grid. Josh Cook leads from pole position, and it's an all-British front row, courtesy of Austin Amman being alongside. August Ligabolingzo and Teddy Murphy round out row 2, followed by Ray and Townsend and Charlie Page on row 3. Maria Roberto and Arlo Gamble. Row 4 was Roddy Jeong and Jayan Prakash rounding out the top 10. Arthur Bowers will be joined by Belgium's Henry Meyer on row 6, with Chloe Malling Sorensen, Ryan Rampadarath, Maxime Ball, Evert van Middendorp, Ada Bilyanov, Kai Suri, Milo de Kousmaker, Arthur Ferro, Malte Holm, Zain Sofuoglu and Dejan Habits rounding out the rear of the field. Drivers now head on to their official formation lap. Josh Cook showcased his speed and prowess in the first round of the series at Austricourt around about 3 weeks ago. Now, there were some drivers that were disqualified post-session in the Mini Max Mini Rookie pre-final. Arthur Ferro got a 3-second time penalty for leaving the corridor by 2 wheels, as did Arthur Bowers. Ours did Suri Kai. Arthur Ferro, 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. Zain Sofuoglu disqualified for being underweight. And Dejan Habits, the 131, was disqualified due to a technical non-conformity, which was basically that the exhaust was not firmly attached to the rest of the engine system, thereby being loose and being a potential safety hazard. So Zain Zafooglu has got a technical black flag, so something is amidst with the 54. Trying to catch an eye on the driver who will see the mechanical black flag on the start-finish straight. Josh Cook leads us after what will be the opening lap of the race by 2/10. Keeping an eye on where Zafooglu is. Now it could be either one of two things, and it is the bumper, I believe. Now that is going to be the right rear of the bumper, and it is dragging on the ground. Going to get a closer look in just a second. Well, it's not. It might be the chain guard, possibly. If it's not the bumper, it's normally the chain guard is not in position. But Joshua Cook has got a little bit of an advantage, but it's a hair's breadth ahead of Austin Aman. So Zain Zafooglu is going to have to park the cart in the pit lane, I'm afraid. The youngster from Turkey, who did the fastest opening sector of anybody, as the field now makes its way through into turn 12. Joshua Cook is doing personal best after personal best. He leads the field up across the line as we complete lap number 2. So Zafooglu has been shown the mechanical black flag for the second time. If that mechanical black flag is ignored, then the driver will be black flagged and then will have to come in. It's a shame for the young Turkish driver who has become very much an Instagram sensation, doing donuts in an all-electric Rolls-Royce Spectre, even driving a Lamborghini Aventador and other supercars with specially adapted seats. But the big thing is that for such a young talent, he's had some great shows of promise. He's been fighting at the sharp end, but Josh Cook continues to lead the way across the line. Lap 3 in the books. New fastest lap by the race leader. Oman in P2. Lingzo, Townsend, Murphy, Bowers. Well, no, Charlie Page has moved up 2 spots. Josh Cook, 59.907, new fastest lap of the race. But Cook, again, just showcasing how capable he is. Other drivers making moves. Chloe Melling Sorensen for the One Racing team, the other arm of RS Competition, run by Robert Schlunzen, who also is part of the team that runs and operates the Boyens Motorsport Arena. And as I said, I knew it might be the case. Zain Zafooglu has just been given the black flag. That is exclusion for the session for the number 54, running under the Strawberry Racing team, supported by Borusan Automotive Motorsport. So that is going to put out one of our drivers. Austin Aman, however, has found some pace. He lit up the final sector purple with a 20.748. And Austin Aman puts in a 59.658 on that particular occasion. But Austin Aman is keeping Josh Cook very, very honest as we speak. And the gap between them has been no higher than 0.2 of a second as things stand. 6 minutes, 48 seconds, plus an additional lap to go. And again, another fastest lap from the 175. So, at the moment, well, Kart 54, Zane Sofroglu. Just that's was given the shown the mechanical black flag twice, then shown the black flag. So we're wondering if he has stayed out or if he is going to pull into the pit lane. And well, there. Oh, now there was a little cheeky little switch back there, and that was from Malte Holm on Maxime Baul in the 67. So it looks like Zane Sofroglu might have just ended up pulling into the pit lane. Arthur Farrow is unfortunately out, the 124. Now he was the one that had the moment, and he went over the back left of Milo de Carsmaker. So there is Zane Sofroglu pushing the kart into pit lane, the number 54. So bumper looks to be fine. I think it might be chain guard related, which may be the reason why, or there's been something else that's caused the issue. So right, oh well, Osterman is throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at Josh Cook with 4.25 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. So this battle is going to be very, very feisty in the next 4 minutes plus 1 lap here in Mini and Mini Rookie. Now leading Mini Rookie, Arthur Bowers. Oh, take a bow, number 99. He's currently up to P6 at the moment. As here goes Osterman, pulls the trigger through at turn 1. And the door is open again. Josh Cook, wheel to wheel with Osterman into turn 2. The 175 retakes the race lead. And that was such a smooth as silk exchange between the two Brits. One from KR Sport, Osterman. He's going to get the inside line for turn 4. There we go. 3 lead changes on the same lap within 4 corners. And now, could it be it's lead change number 4? Through at Chemin de Fer. Cook through on Oman. This is going to go on like a bout of musical chairs at a birthday party. So, Arthur Farrow, unfortunately, retires. Zane Sofroglu out of the race after being given not just the mechanical black flag, but the black flag as well. So, obviously, there was something of a safety concern that made the officials decide, well, that kart really can't carry on in its current condition. And we know that motorsport is dangerous, but we have to, with regards to the team behind the scenes, when it's a safety-related item, they have to act instantly, and they've done the right course, of irrespective of what the technical black flag was brought out for. Meantime, Austin Oman is not letting Josh Cook get away. It's like he's got the fishing reel, he's wound it up, he's launched the bait, and Josh Cook has taken a big old bite. But the thing is, it's one thing to catch somebody, something completely different when you try and pass them. And at this moment, Josh Cook has got Austin Oman's number through into turn 12. And we're probably going to have, as Josh Cook has just got a warning flag from race control, are we going to have 2, maybe, I think we might have 3 laps to go. It was a 59.975 from Josh Cook. Austin Oman just over a minute. So I think we could be tight on time. I think we've got this and maybe 2 laps to go. Yeah, we will have 3 laps to go, including this one. So they are away and clear. They're 1.4 seconds up the road from August Likibo-Lingzo in the number 123 from Denmark. Through into Chemin de Fer we go again. And biggest mover, no surprise here, Day and Habits in the 131. After being excluded, started from last, now runs 7th. And is closing in on Arthur Bowers in the number 99. Now that is a battle for overall race position, but more to the point, it is for 6th. And Arthur Bowers is the leading mini rookie. After him, it's Arlo Gamble, the defending champion, who's down in 11th position as we go on to the penultimate lap of this Mini Max and Mini Rookie final. Josh Cook has already won 2 finals this season, both at the season opener on the 21st and the 22nd of March when we went to Racing Kart JPR, who this year celebrate their 30th anniversary. Oman to the inside at Chemin de Fer, gets through but runs a little bit deep. Nearly allowed the over-under to happen for Josh Cook, but Cook is going to find himself in the better position here as we very shortly will go on to what is more than likely going to be our final lap. And Austin Oman is going to be more concerned about keeping Josh Cook behind him as quickly as possible. We are running out of time. This could be tight. And it was on the buzzer. It was on the buzzer. We've got 2 laps. There is no final lap board being shown on the start-finish straight. So Josh Cook has got about 2.72 kilometres to try and get through. And he's throwing the kitchen sink at Austin Oman. And Austin Oman is soaking up the pressure through into turn 4, down into Chemin de Fer. Next time round, it will be the last lap. And Josh Cook has got to keep Austin Oman guessing into Chemin de Fer here on lap number 13. This is going to be a fight for the ages between these 2 young superstars of the future. Oman versus Cook. Now up into turn 12 for what is going to be the penultimate time. And up the hill we go. Is the gap enough for Austin Oman to command the lead going into the last lap here? Last lap underway. Gap between the 2 is going to be 0.23 of a second, which means that Josh Cook still has a window, a chance of opportunity coming his way into turn 2. Now into 3. They both sweep wide. Cook gets the tail a little bit sideways as Day and Habits now up into P5, 1.16 seconds behind Ray and Townsend. But it's going to be the battle for the race win. Josh Cook will want to keep a 100% success rate into Chemin de Fer for the final time here on lap number 14. Austin Oman managing to get through, but he's got to be very, very careful. He's got to keep it picture perfect. Bring the kart home. Through out of Escargot for the final time. Through into turn number 12. Up the hill. Josh Cook won both finals at Austriacourt. His run has been broken. It's Sam Pollitt Racing's Austin Oman that wins the final on day 1 here at round 2. Josh Cook takes second ahead of August Likkevold-Lingzo, with Denmark in third on that one. Ray and Townsend, D and Habits. Habits from 23rd and stone dead last picks up P5. Charlie Page ahead of Arthur Bowers, who wins for Mini Rookie this time around in the number 99. Maria Roberto, Teddy Murphy, and, well, Ryder Jeong in the top 10. Well done to the Australian. Malte Holm from Denmark started 21st, ends in 11th, head of Arlo Gamble, Jayan Prakash, Henry Mayat, Maxime Ball, Chloe Malling Sorensen, Ryan Rampadalov, Kai Suri, Evert van Middendorp, and Milo de Galsmaker rounding out the finishers in that one. Arda Bilyanov, we lost with 1 lap to go. Zain Sofuoglu with 9 laps remaining, and Arthur Farrow out on lap 4. But Austin Oman breaks Josh Cook's winning streak, as it's now 2 finals to Cook, 1 to Oman here on day 1. So now time to run you through the top 3 in the championship standings after round 1 at Ostrikor a few weeks ago for both DD2 and DD2 Masters. So we first of all head to DD2 itself, and it's Belgium's Len Nys who has a pretty commanding advantage. 19 points over the first of the 2 Dutchmen in the top 3, Ralph van der Paver, and Jort van Wyk, the brother of Days, a further 5 points adrift. Then we go to DD2 Masters, and it's the Flying Dutchman, Jim Ringelberg, who is leading the standings after the opening round at Ostrikor with 227 points, 20 ahead of the most decorated Grand Finals participant of all-time history, Christophe Adams, and the defending champion, Francis Christophe Capitain, on 204 points. Now, after the pre-final here on Saturday, there was only one penalty issued, and that went to the 547 of Jim Ringelberg. 5-second time penalty for breaking formation. I did spot it on the pre-final when they went green, and it looks like Jim got a slap on the wrist and got told to sit in the corner with the dunce's hat on his head. Nevertheless, that won't stop him from moving forward. There is Yannick Jacobs from Germany, the 401. Oh, he's got a Vera Tools British Kart Championship sticker on his visor. Maybe we need to get some BNL ones sorted in the not too distant future. But Yannick, a very, very competitive individual, always accompanied by his dad, who is a wonderful character. Always great to see them in the paddock. So, and I've got to catch up with them this evening after dinner. But there is Jort van Wyk for SP Motorsport. Good to catch up with Stan Pex, who's recently getting his hand into rallying these days. And he said, yeah, Belgian rallies in Belgium are very different to rallies in the Netherlands. So much tarmac variation as the recovery truck now makes its way into its usual customary position. So, engines fire up, as we will see who will come out on top in DD2. And DD2 Masters as the path to Portimao continues here in Mariembourg. Len Nys will start from pole position ahead of Jort van Wyk. They'll be on the front row. Nicolas Guillaume and Ralph van der Paver round out row 2 with Christophe Capitain, the defending BNL Karting Series DD2 Masters champion from last season. He'll be joined by countryman Theo Lemoigne for the Le Hook Racing Team on an all-French row 3. Pepin Riedman and Theo Lang round out row 4 with Jim Ringelberg joined by Germany's Yannick Jacobs on the back row of the grid. So 15 minutes plus an additional lap for these DD2 drivers running with the Rotax Max 125cc Evo engine coupled with a 2-speed gearbox. No direct drive, so no chain, no sprocket, as we have with all our other classes here in the Rotax Racing family. And for those wondering about the history of the DD2 system for Rotax, Rotax saw an opportunity, went for it, no one believed them. Rotax then went and built their own chassis, the RM1, brought it to the Grand Finals. It made an impact so significant that all the chassis manufacturers went, oh, can we start using that and get people from our, that run with our chassis to race with it? But of course, they said, very much like Rotax taking a gamble on Project T20 and the Thunder before it. The Thunder being the first generation of the electric powertrains that also work hand in hand with Rotax's sister arm, Can-Am, of who we had a great ambassador in the form of the late Ken Block. Have to also give a shout out to someone who loves his Can-Am motorbikes, now residing out of Austin, Texas, formerly of Düsseldorf, Germany, the electric renegade, Ellis Spiezia, who managed to catch up with his mum Michelle earlier on this week, as he's racing this weekend, but still loves his karting. There's that young American. After this, 2 more races to go. Into the tram lines. We're set and ready for 15 minutes. The revs go up. The lights go to green. We're underway and racing. And a good start by Len Noyes, and he's been shot like a rocket out of a cannon. Has the 417 from Belgium. Guillaume now P2. Van Wyk 3rd. Capitan 4th. Van der Pavet, who's he's not just got a mullet, he's got his marigolds on. Bright pink gloves on the 468's hands. I'm going to take the mickey out of him a little bit later on. But more to the point, everyone making moves. But Len Noyes got the whole shot he needed, went for the lunge into turn 1, got the job done, and we're now at 18 degrees Celsius. That's around about 66 degrees Fahrenheit. As Noyes comes out of turn 12, up the hill. Full speed at probably over 130 kilometres an hour across the line. He leads us after the opening lap by nearly half a second. Guillaume P2. Van der Pavet dives through onto Capitan at turn 1. That is for 4th overall. Here comes Lemoigne trying to go through on the inside of his Frenchman. Well, you do not want to take out you don't want to take out a countryman, but here we go. This is the battle for P2. Van Wyk now through on Guillaume for 2nd. They're heading down into Chemin de Fer here on lap 2. Van der Pavet will close on in as they start to battle tooth and nail. The 433 from SP Motorsport and the 491. That is now the 3rd team that he's been with in his short career. Guillaume started racing back in 2023. First started running with Sherpas Racing BV alongside Maxime Derix, who's now running in ADAC Prototype Germany with Aust Motorsport, and actually took a win on the season opener. So congratulations to Maxime, and that's where the nickname for Nico of Uno Mas came up. Let's just say holiday, Ibiza, that's all I need to tell you. You can figure out the rest on your own because he's a young man anyway. Just 18 years old. But he still has the fire and intensity to compete in this high level of DD2 Rotax racing. Len Noyes sideways under braking. Oh, Theo Lemoigne is taking too many half-hearted attempts at trying to get through and pass Christophe Capitan, which means, well, look who's behind them. Hello, Jim Ringleberg. Hello there, sir. And he's going to try and put the brightness on the 435. He's got Pepin Riedmann just behind, along with the 2 Germans bringing up the rear of the field, Theo Lang and Yannick Jacobs. Now, Yannick did have some struggles back at Ostricourt, mainly to do with muscle soreness and some discomfort, let's say. Jort van Wyk in the meantime, new fastest lap of the race, 54.760 for the 433, who's now trying to go chasing after Len Noyes. And the entirety of the field covered by just over 2 3/4 seconds. So they're all keeping within earshot of each other. Last lap around, fastest was a 54.76. Slowest was a 54.991 by Guillaume in 2nd position. Actually, it wasn't. It was a 55.433, both done by the 2 Frenchmen on the field, Christophe Capitan and Theo Lemoigne, in 5th and 6th respectively. New fastest lap by Nicolas Guillaume. 54.737 by the 491. Originally at one point used to run with the 444 or 444. Well, some of my friends used to say 444, but that was said too quickly. But like we saw with Cook and Oman in the minis, we could see the same kind of battle building here between Nys, Van Wyk, Guillaume, maybe even throw Van der Pavel into that mix. And big look over the right shoulder by Len Nys. Very tall, statuesque individual in terms of height. And I still remember, I mean, like, you know, seeing him as a youngster to now. There's another person that I know of. And he's a very, very tall Dutchman. You all know him. Robert de Haan. Now running these days in 6th Carrera Cup Germany. So very, very good luck to the competitors over there. 31 drivers racing at the Autodromo Enzo Guidino Ferrari in Imola this weekend, which also coincides with the rescheduled opening round of the FIA World Endurance Championship. Also other work going on, racing going on, funnily enough, in Belgium at Spa. Creventic, 12 hours. And there are a few friends that I know of that will be competing up there that have also raced in DD2 and DD2 Masters, one of which is Qatar's Faisal Al-Yafai. And he's part of the QMMF team over there with Ahmed Al-Mehdi and Mr. Al-Thani as well. So good luck to them racing at Spa-Francorchamps this weekend. But Nys is not out of the wilderness here in Couvin quite yet. As Van Wyk to the inside at Chemin de Fer. Through he dives and leaves it right to the last moment. And Nys unable to counter-attack the 4-3-3, but through into Escargot where they touch. Van Wyk around. Guillaume makes a move for the possible lead. But that was a bit too adventurous and overzealous by Len Nys. He's holding on to the lead, but is there damage? Is there damage to the 417's front end? Whether it's steering, whether it's possible track rod, tie rod. At the moment, doesn't seem to be much going wrong for Len Nys, but he's having to sweep in to turn 3. Guillaume was tight to the apex. He's got Ralph van der Pavet right on him. So, Jort van Wyk tumbles to the bottom of the field. I'm wondering, has that cart got going? He hasn't passed through sector 1, so I think that might be Jort van Wyk's race done and dusted, I'm afraid, for the 433. But at the moment, if there is a potential investigation post-race, and Len Nys, well, I think he knows what's going to happen now. He thinks, well, if I'm, you know, he might say, well, look, it was my judgment to make the move. They may say he might be at fault. This is what I think could happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but they may say that Len Nys was a bit too late in orchestrating the attack to go up the inside, and it caught out Van Wyk. So that might mean that the battle for the race lead could end up being for second and third between Nicolas Guillaume and Ralph van der Pavet. Now, Van der Pavet was closing in. So, looks like, yeah, Jort van Wyk has called time on the race. A real shame for what could have been a very, very interesting battle. But obviously, for those people wondering why I've just given my thoughts on it, it may be the thing that's what they'll look at. But still, a very closely packed field. 3.5 seconds covers the now 9-strong grid. It doesn't look like there's anything wrong with Len Nys' car. He's actually scarpering away. So at the minute, his lead is 7 tenths. Christophe Capitan leads the way in the Masters side of things. Up to P4 now is the man from France. Jim Ringelberg, who started on the inside of the final row, now up 3 places and is trying to chase down Theo Lemoine, but finds himself nearly 8/10 of a second back in 6th position. Capitan just posts the fastest final sector of the race so far. You never know, even with the experience that drivers like Christophe Capitan and Jim Ringelberg have, it's always that question that needs to be answered. Do you go with experience or do you go with youth, vim and vigour and a lot of intestinal fortitude to try and make a move work? And sometimes you will try and look at that and go, maybe I can make the move stick. And Capitan nearly went alongside, wheel to wheel for the briefest of moments down the start-finish stretch, alongside Ralph van der Pavet, but van der Pavet kept tight to the apex into turn 1, did not allow the 528 from France for RM Concept to get through. Now they go into the left here at turn 4. And you can see how committed they are in those corners. Van der Pavet holding on to 3rd place in the final here on day number 1. 4 minutes plus change and an additional lap to go. Len Noyes starting to open up a slender lead, which is nearly to the tune of a second, as the sunshine once again starts to beam on the facility here at Mariembourg. And Van der Pavet still trying to keep 3rd place. He's not defending over aggressively. He's parking the cart on the racing line, which is his right to do. Ahead of Capitan Lemoine, can he see an opportunity to get through on his countryman? There were a couple of times early part in the race when the 435 was very, very close to the side pods of the 528, and they nearly came together. However, at this point, the gap is now expanding. 1.2 seconds as we go on to lap number 14. 13 laps in the books. Noyes leads by 1.2 seconds. Van der Pavet P3, Lemoine trying to get the sweep around and to the inside. He goes through. Capitan has to adjust his steering to compensate for the overtake happening, and still holds on to the lead of the class. But Jim Ringelberg has got a cart between himself and Christophe Capitan. That's Pepin Rietman from the Netherlands in the 481. So we are going to have 4 laps to go, approximately. And the third of those 4 laps will probably have about 8 seconds to run before the timer hits 0. And at this point, Len Noyes, despite the contact with Jort van Wijk 8 laps ago on lap 6, he has been relatively untroubled, despite having lost out to the lead for Van Wijk. Chased him down, went for the aggressive move, through on the final part of Escargot. The pair made contact. Van Wijk went spinning off. Noyes kept on pointing in the right direction, and it seems like the potential damage to the 417 Shepherd's Racing Service BV entry may be superficial at best, because that cart is working like nobody's business. Nicolas Guillaume goes defensive on Ralph van der Pavet through out of turn 1. And is this going to give an opportunity? Theo Lemoine to the outside of van der Pavet through 2. Can't get the job done on the 468 from SP Motorsport. And now Christophe Capita is joining the battle at the back of the quartet. Well, whilst this quartet battle away, that is allowing Nyes to clear off into the distance. It's like he wants to get to his hotel room early today. Across the line, 2 laps to go. And Guillaume defends. Lemoyne to the inside of Van der Pavert, who carries the momentum quite feverishly around the outside. Can he try and get the crisscross here at turn 2? Not quite. But Guillaume goes defensive into 3. Timer has hit 0. Down into Chemin de Fer for the penultimate time. A little bit of a touch from assist from behind. Whether it's Lemoyne into the back of Van der Pavert, and then likewise from Van der Pavert into the back of Guillaume. They were so close together under braking, it was difficult to see who instigated the touching spree. But last lap board will be out this time, and it will be shown to the 4:17. Len Nyes starts us on to what will be the final lap. Guillaume, daylight at the back end of the tunnel. Van der Pavert pointing forward saying, go, just push, just go, push. Let's get away from those behind. So Van der Pavert senses that P3 for him is under threat. Into turn 3. Now the short shoot up to turn 4. They get through. Nyes just coming through into Chemin de Fer as we speak. And he's already exited it and probably through into Piff Paff. Now come through the other, well, it's nearly the rest of the field. You've got Capitan, Riedman, Ringelberg and Jacobs is at the back end of the train. So from 2nd to 9th is going to be a free-for-all. It could be a run to the line, but Len Nyes will win the final here on day 1. What's the winning margin between him? It's going to be Nicolas Guillaume at the flag. Oh, that was close. He cut across the front of Van der Pavert and finished 8/100ths behind Nicolas Guillaume. Theo Lemoyne, Christophe Capitan wins Masters again here in the final. Riedman, Ringelberg in P2 and Masters P7 overall, with Yannick Jacobs and Theo Lang rounding out your 9 finishers. Unfortunately, with 12 laps to go. Lap 6 after contact, after an audacious lastminute.com move from the race winner, Len Nyes, Jort van Wyk out on lap 6. Well, after an interesting and dynamic DD2 and DD2 Masters final here on day one, we turn our attention back to the junior road tax ranks. But before we go trackside once again, let's take you through the top three in the championship standings after the opening round at Ostrikor a few weeks ago. Very much a close bit of talent in terms of the way things are looking. Cian Bernard from SP Sam Pollock Racing leads the way on 209, one ahead of KR Sports Findlay Lines, and with it being a KR Sport top three, courtesy of Switzerland's Luan Seidel on 194 points. Seems like the battle lines are being drawn between Cian Bernard and Findlay Lines. They will line up on the front row of your grid. And great to see such a breadth and depth of young junior road tax talent here at Mariembourg. And as we've seen, Ostrikor was a weekend where we really got to understand who was going to be fighting at the sharp end. And of course, with the final, it is going to be a little bit of a longer affair for these drivers, as they will be racing for 12 minutes, plus an additional lap of this 1,366 metre circuit. So the big question will be, how will the championship evolve? I will give you an up-to-date understanding of where our drivers stand in the respective top threes come tomorrow morning when we go live at around about 11:05 local time. But the green flag is waved and the digital flag is flashing away at the end of the dummy grid. Let's take a look through the starting order. Cian Bernard starts from pole position alongside championship rival Findlay Lines on the front row. Riley Morrow and Matthias Verdaken ran out row 2. Justin Fonkenly and Herbose ran out row 3. Finn Albert Jorgensen and Didier Dale row 4, with Bruce Ramboa and Sebastian Clark rounding out the top 10. Lieke van Berkel, Albert Friend, Nathan Lecquihor, Vares Pascu, Louis Radcliffe, Kai Clark, Jensen Chalk, Lucian Smith, Harry Taylor, Luan Seidel, Klaus Hans, Jelan Vandenberger, Lionel Munguia, Thibaut Mercier, Yannis Gourage, Augustin Hanik, Dion Braque, Max Bogsal, Georges Desmay, Anton Herschel Christensen, Glenn Van Melk, Loris Perron-Mousset and Charlie Kitely round out your field. Okay. List of penalties from the pre-final. Lionel Munguia, 5-second time penalty for pushing. Louis Radcliffe, Kai Clark, Lieke van Berkel, Augustin Hanik, Dion Braque, Yannis Gourage, all getting a 5-second time penalty for the bumper being out of position on the front of the vehicle. 2 drivers were excluded, both of them being found to be underweight post-session. Charlie Kitely from Dan Holland Racing and Loris Perron-Mousset from SF Automatech. Biggest grid in the paddock this weekend. 33 drivers 12 minutes plus an additional lap. Revs up. Lights are red. We're green. We're underway. And a good start by the front row. Finley Lines high, wide and handsome to the outside of Kean Bernard. Nearly opens the door for Riley Morrow to get through. And it might be a Sam Pollitt Racing 1-2 by the time we exit turn 2. And that is the case. But can the young man in the 281 from KR Sport resurge and make his way to the sharp end of the field? We go through turn 4. Diving to the inside. I think that was Albert Friend. Making a move on Niku Hall. It's the Sam Pollitt Racing 1-2 into Chemin de Fer for the first time. And Lines very close to the back bumper of Riley Morrow in the 222. Out of Escargot and into the final right-hander here at turn 12. Up the hill for the first time to the crest of the circuit when we hit the stripe. And it is going to be close between Bernard, Morrow, Lines. Bernard defence against Morrow. Lines trying for the sweep underneath the 222. Switches to the outside to maybe try and attempt the crisscross. In towards turn number 3. Morrow looks to the inside. Bernard did not give him enough room to facilitate the manoeuvre. And there was a little wag of the finger from Series Race Director Manuel Branco. It was to one of the top 3. It might have been possibly to Kean Bernard saying, no, that's not how we expect you to race here. Bernard again, defensive into Chemin de Fer. Now we head into Escargot. Bumping over the curbs. Justin Fonk for GKS. Now P4. Ahead of Leon Herbos for Bouvan Power. No, make that. Change that. Kean Bernard gets the warning flag from race control, so he was the one that was getting the no wag of the finger from Manuel Branco. Matthias Verreken in the 254 is moving up the order. He's diving to the inside for 4th place. He just sneaks through on Justin Fonk, and here comes Albert Friend with a big lick of speed. The 219 from Dan Holland Racing gets through for 6th position at the end of the opening sector. Oh, how's this for a stat? First to 31st after 2 laps has changed for the lead. Morrow through on Bernard. Bernard going defensive on Lines, who has to back out of it at the last second. First to 31st after 2 laps. Combined 6.6 seconds from first all the way down to there. But the top 3 trying to steal a little bit of a march on the opposition. Matthias Verreken is the cork in the bottle behind, and he has got Finn Albert Jorgensen to his inside. The Dane looking for the move. Can he get it done? Let's see. Jorgensen did get through. But we have got yellow flags at Marshall post 4 at turn 3. Full course slow is being now instigated. Full course slow, circuit wide. So full course slow, medical team being asked to go to the driver who is just off the circuit. That is unfortunately the Netherlands' Dion Bracker clutching an arm. And is walking safely over to Marshall post 4. The main thing is, unfortunately for Dion Bracker, that might mean Dion's elimination from the race weekend, possibly at this stage, which is heartbreak for a young driver of that age. And it's looks like right arm holding the elbow from what I can see out of the window. So hence why race director Manuel Branco has opted to go for a full course slow. That means race neutralised, everyone slows and prepares to stop. So effectively, for those new to karting, what is a full course slow? It's effectively a full course. It's like a virtual safety car situation in Formula One. And unfortunately, for the likes of Drent, you're going to be disappointed because Dion is being looked at. Race helmet off. The main thing is I'm glad that Dion was ably assisted out of the kart and moved to a safer location along with the 261 Tony kart itself. But this puts us a minute away from the halfway point. Drivers will try and keep some semblance of temperature into those Mojo tyres that are adorned onto their karts. Biggest mover up the order, Trent van Melk, 31st to 20th at the moment. And there is Kian Bernard. Finley Lines in second. Riley Morrow, Finn Albert Jorgensen, Albert Friend, Matthias Verreken, Leon Herbos, Bruce Ramboer, DD2 Dale, Justin Fonk, who's lost a big amount of positions after the exchange with Finn Albert Jorgensen a few laps ago. Kai Clark, Louis Radcliffe, Rados Pascu, Jensen Chalk and Lucien Smith round out the top 15. Then it is Luan Seidel, Sebastian Clark. And then after that would be Nathan Lecue, Harry Taylor, Trent van Melk, Klaus Hans, Ilan Vandenberger, Max Bogsal, Lieke van Berkel. She's tumbled down the order, 13 places down to 24th. Started 11th on the inside of row 6. Yanis Courage, Charlie Kitely up 7 spots. Augustin Hanik, Lionel Munguia, Thibaut Mercier, Anton Hauschel Christensen, Loris Perron-Mousset, George Desmay is in. And we go green again at 5.5 minutes to go. Kian Bernard saw the green flag, went, right, I'm out of way and I'm going to get clear, sharpish, stat. I need to get away from lines, Morrow and all that lot, because I want to win again. And now, now that is not what you do there. Albert Friend gets turned around by Matthias Verreken and the 219. Oh, there's been drama a little bit further back. 215. Augustin Hanik, I think, just had Lionel Munguia go over the right rear wheel. Oh, dear. I cannot believe what I have just seen. Backs up, you know, a full course slow, get the green flag. Everyone's chomping at the bit, and some people get a bit overzealous. So, after the first lap of the restart, Bernard leads. Lines is with him. Oh dear, ding ding, seconds out, round 2, anybody? Riley Morrow P3, Finn Albert Jorgensen in 4th, Kai Clark, and there goes Lines for the lead at turn 3, lap number 7. And Morrow has gone, right, I'm going to join you. Hello boys, remember me? And Finn Albert Jorgensen is going to use a bit of dangerous, well, I wouldn't say dangerous Danish tactics. I would say devious Danish tactics. Oh, no, right. Careful, Riley Morrow. You don't want to have a drama with your teammate, Mr. Bernard. So, the strength in numbers. It's even Stevens between KR Sport and Sam Pollock Racing. But the man from Strawberry Racing, Kai Clark, not that far behind. He's about half a second off of Finn Albert Jorgensen, who rounds out the quartet of the train at the sharp end. So just under 3 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. So 1/4 of the race to go. This is going to be very, very close. And now Bernard strikes whilst the iron is hot. Morrow makes it a 1-2 a WWE tag team effort on Finley Lines. Lines is now going to counter-attack through into turn 3. Makes one move, gets past on Morrow. Jorgensen has now got Kai Clark for close company. This quintet could bring the fireworks to the party as Albie Friend in the 219, all the way down to 29th after Matthias Verreken touched him on the left rear. effectively they go up the hill once again. So, more to the point, just under 2 minutes to go. It's all or nothing in some respects, but you don't want to cause yourself a drama or a mischief at this point in the season. And the reason being is you want those championship points. You want to make sure that you're at the sharp end. And when you think about it, Finley Lines and Cian Bernard, they are embroiled in a battle. So a minute to go. And we're going to have only 2 more laps remaining. Because it's difficult to... Oh, right. Finn Albert Jorgensen has been passed by Kai Clark in the meantime. Kai Clark, how about this for a starting stat? Started on the outside of row 8. Now is in contention for the victory. As Bernard defends against Lines. Murrow tried to look for the window of opportunity. And Lines is the KR Sport meet in a Sam Pollock Racing sandwich, with the strawberries courtesy of Kai Clark coming along for dessert. Kai Clark gets through on Riley Murrow. That's P3. A storming drive from the 2-6-7 from Strawberry Racing. And he has an opportunity maybe to go for the W, maybe go for the win on this one. Albert Friend, another successive fastest lap of the race. 56.543. Kai Clark a little bit wide coming out of Escargot. That nearly gave Finley Lines the opportunity to move through. We've got 1 more lap to go, and Cian Bernard is now away and clear. Probably by the best part of about 3.5 tenths of a second plus. Across the line onto lap number 13. Make that lap 12. Kai Clark, 5.5 tenths of a second behind. Finley Lines in P3. Finn Albert Jorgensen now through on Riley Murrow for 4th. Pascu, Radcliffe, Fonk, Chalk and Smith. And what a run by Trent Van Melk, who's only 1 position away. Well, was 1 only position away. Trent Van Melk now drops to 13th position. Started 31st, now runs 13th. In towards Escargot we go for the final time of asking. Here in the Junior Rotax final, here on day 1. Up the hill we go, and Cian Bernard will continue his winning run. Here in BNL 2026, he wins the final ahead of Kai Clark. What a storming drive by the 267 from Strawberry Racing to pit Finley Lines at the line for 2nd. Lines in P3. Finn Albert Jorgensen in 4th. Riley Murrow in 5th. Rannes Pascu in 6th. Louis Radcliffe in 7th. The latter 2 drivers I've mentioned making up 8 places apiece. Justin Fonk, Jensen Chalk and Lucian Smith round out the top 10. The latter 2 also making up 8 places. Luan Seidel up 9 spots from 20th, finishes 11th, ahead of Nathan Lecquier. Trent Van Melk, hardest charger of the race, 18 positions gained from 31st to finish 13th, ahead of Lieke van Berkel. Max Bogstal up 13 places to finish 15th. Leon Herboz, Lionel Munguia, Sebastian Clark, Bruce Ramboa and Didier Dadala rounding out your top 20. Harry Taylor, Yanis Courage, Charlie Kitely up 10 places from last to finish 23rd. Thibaut Mercier, Loris Perron-Mousset, Anton Hausschul Christensen, Klaus Hans, Albert Friend and Augustin Hanik round out the finishers in that race, with Albert Friend, the fastest driver of all, 56.228. Matthias Verreken, Milan Vandenberger, George Desmay and Dion Bracker out of the race earlier on, as that concludes Junior Max. Next up, we've got the last race of the day. It's going to be Senior Rotax, the final for day 1 coming up soon. Okay, we've got one more race to go here on the final stretch for day one, round two. Let's take you through the top three of the championship according to the stats that we have for our senior road tax division. So, with regards to senior road tax, Taze van Wyk is leading the way ahead of Vince van der Halle and Macaulay Bishop, rounding out a very close top three after Ostricor on the 21st and the 22nd of March, the man in third being the defending BNL Karting Series champion and the defending Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals champion of 2025. 15 minutes plus an additional lap on the timer here in this final race of the day. And more to the point, looking back at the pre-final, Lado Kuhanidze and Mariembourg had a bumper penalty post-race, as we have 3 minutes to go until the drivers are released, so the mechanics are instructed to clear the grid very shortly, which means their last bit of instruction to their respective drivers that they're working alongside. There's Sverre Ubben. Very different look to the drivers and also the team wear. More a flash of white than the traditional yellow that we have seen in years past, but still running with the colours of the Belgian flag based on the fact that GKS Lemmens Power, based out of Karting Genk, the home of champions. There you see that Macaulay Bishop, not only Grand Finals champion of the world for road tax, but also a four-time British champion and a BNL Karting Series champion to boot. Let's take you through the starting grid of the Senior Max final. Vince van der Halle and Bran van der Weken line up on an all Bouvin Power front row. Macaulay Bishop and Tino Sidler, row 2. Taze van Wyk and Sverre Ubben, row 3. Boris Verhaag and Bastien Mesnil round out the next row. Ahead of Boaz Maximov and Antoine Lemieux. That is the 398 that is not going anywhere, and that is Hugo Grasteau due to start alongside Harry Freeman on row 7. Behind Boaz Maximov and Antoine Lemieux, who start on row 5. Tom Longnoir joined by Charlie King. So Arnold Sabarin and Aliza Stolchamane round out the next row, ahead of Vic van Kampenhout and Kenneth van Mokerke. Koen Willems and Lado Kohanidze next up with Priam Lelang, Louis Oliver Gunther, Ryan Bourguignon, Bo Algris, Liam van Hecke, Hjalle de Risgaard, Rafael Moreau, Lars Lambers, Max Sidursky and Lucas Stoddard bringing up the rear of the field. So Grasto will not take part in this race. An unfortunate set of circumstances for the French driver. So, 15 minutes to decide who will be the winner of the final on day one. We'll still have the same route to go tomorrow for day two, bringing us to the halfway point of the championship season. So the field is coming up the hill. They've got to be very quickly into formation. A gap to be left where Hugo Crasto was due to start. Here we go. It's the last race of the day here at Karting d'Espagne on day one. Revs up. Lights on. We're green for 15 minutes. And into turn one, Macaulay Bishop looking to the inside early. Gets through as Bran van der Weyken gets held out to dry on the outside of turn two and turn one. Battle lines being drawn. Thijs van Wyk looks to have made his way up into third place behind teammates. Macaulay Bishop, Tom Langlois looks to have moved up a couple of places in the meantime on the G-Kart 53 253 entry on the Sodi kart as Vince van der Holle leads the field out of Chemin de Fer here on the opening tour, and you could just see how aggressive and how much steering angle these drivers are using. Take, for instance, there goes Macaulay Bishop through an escargot. Oh, that's nip and tuck by the 301. And Vince van der Holle clashes with Thijs van Wyk. And van der Hollen's on the grass with two wheels. Oh, it was going to be unstoppable force versus a movable object. And the Dutchman held his ground against the Belgian. And van der Holle has dropped all the way down to P10 in the meantime. And it was like no one was going to give an inch, neither was going to take a country mile. But Macaulay Bishop is now starting to pull away from Boris Verhaag in the 302. Well, Van Wyk, I think, Van Wyk did actually hold on to that third place. He's got Boris Maximov, the youngster from Strawberry Racing, who moved up from juniors last year. Sverre Ubben up the order now, moving ahead of Antoine Lemieux from Canada. So the 348 from GKS Lemons Power now runs ninth. Vince van der Holle is all the way down in 18th position. However, he's got 13 minutes plus an additional lap to try and scythe his way through the field as Tino Sidler goes into battle for 6th position with Tom Langlois. Sidler to the inside at turn 2. He gets through, and with that, Harry Freeman gets a nice little assist there. So the 378, the teammate of Sidler at KR Sport, the Cosmic Boys working together. Shades of Sean Butcher and Lockie Robinson back in the early 2020s. And Sean now doing a lot of running in the USA these days with Rollison Performance Group, and has had some success stateside. A proud Aussie, now based these days out of London, but still runs under a British licence. But this is going to be hard fought for the next 12 minutes plus an additional lap, as Boris Verhaag in P2 now trying to see if he can get through on Macaulay Bishop, but the 301 will not make it easy. I can guarantee you of that much. Drivers making their way up the field. Vince van der Holle, who's now putting in fastest lap, still holding on to 18th position at the moment. And on cue, Patrick Verbist in the chat, as always, cheering on Bran van der Weyken. Bran down 9 places, currently running in P11, behind Antoine Lemieux. And now look at the train, all the way down to Charlie King in 12th, at least. The entire field, 29 drivers, after lap 3 was covered by 8.2 seconds. Dive to the inside. And that was by Boris Maximov attempting... Oh, and who was that going off track? Whoopsie daisy, I think is the term I'd use for that one. And that is Boris Maximov. Oh, he was the one that went off at turn 2. There is Van Wyk ahead of Bishop. We still have just over 10 minutes of this race left to run, plus that all-important additional lap can sometimes make all the difference in the latter stages when you're having a toe-to-toe battle. Like, say, if your names are Josh Cook and Austin Aman, like in the Mini Max and Mini Rookie final earlier on today. And Harry Freeman, he's gotten his head down, is Harry. Up 10 spots outside of row 7, now runs 4th. 10 places gained, and he's now ahead of teammate Tino Sidler. Vince van der Halle is climbing the order, slowly but surely. He's right behind Strawberry Racing's Charlie King in the 374. Bran van der Weyken now up into 10th. Boris Maximov now 16th. As the sun continues to beat down here at Mariembourg in the southern part of Belgium in the Courval region. There is a real titanic battle going on, and it's happening for second at the minute. Van Wyk and Verhaag trying to stay in that window of opportunity to keep close to race leader Macaulay Bishop. Sverre Ubben, new fastest lap of the race, down in 6th position. 55.181. That was nearly a 10th quicker than Bishop. That was a 10th quicker than Van Wyk, over a 10th quicker than Verhaag. Half a 10th quicker than Freeman, and just about 1/100th of a second ahead of Tino Sidler. As they say, we've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. These drivers are still pushing 10 tenths and then some. Bishop holding on to a slender lead. It might be 3 and a bit tenths of a second, which to some people might feel like an eternity. It will feel like a breath of fresh air for Macaulay Bishop right about now. Vince van der Halle now up into 8th. So he has made steady progress. He's about a second behind Tom Langlois, who in turn is 1.4 seconds behind the man at the back of the 6-cart train that just went through shot, Sverre Ubben, in P6. So if, in the next couple of laps, van der Halle goes quickest of anybody, and van der Halle now, has he made the move on Tom Langlois? Not quite. He's still trying to catch him up. Then there's a bigger gap to Ubben. Sverre Ubben, new fastest lap. 54.987 for the 348 from GKS. So the top 5, the top quintet, better watch their backsides because someone is charging forward, and that is Sverre Ubben. But keep your eyes on Vince van der Halle. He took about nearly half the gap out of what was in front of him, leading up to Tom Longnoir for G-Kart 53 in the 355 Sony Kart entry. Up the hill we go. Lap 9 set to be completed. And there we go. 2.5 tenths is the gap. And someone's got a very, very noisy exhaust. That sounds like 374 Charlie King. He pulled to the right-hand side. I think might have lifted off the throttle. Vince van der Halle, fastest lap again for the 372. 54.81. Yeah, that sounds like it was coming from Charlie King, that exhaust blow. And unfortunately, he is going to get the mechanical black flag. These laps are going by very, very quickly indeed. Bishop still leads. Van Wyk leading a DHR 1-2. But Haag for Bouvin in third. Freeman and Sidler for KR Sport rounding out your top 5. Uben for GKS rounding out 6th. As diving to the inside of Bottas for Haag. That's through for third. Harry Freeman, welcome to the show. Sidler, lastminute.com from Switzerland, came in. Urgent delivery for the 310 and he made it through at turn 4. Oh, that's beautiful. That's brilliant from Sidler. But Haag went, oh, well, that's just one KR Sport coming past me. No, Tino Sidler did the Danny Rick, licked the stamp and send it and went, hello, remember me? See ya, bye. Off he goes. Brilliant stuff. Charlie King has now got the mechanical black flag for the noisy exhaust. As we are going to have a change, I think Boris van Haag was just under pressure from Sverre Uben at that point, and the GKS 348 is through for what is 5th position. And Boris van Haag will find that Vince van der Halle is right behind him, about 1.5 seconds off. So Charlie King has parked the 374 Strawberry Racing entry after the exhaust was found to be noisy. Might have been the fact that someone went over the back of the Brit and dislodged the exhaust baffles, and thereby you get that unrestricted sound. And it is something that is not permitted in terms of the noise of the exhaust. However, Charlie King doing the right thing and getting the kart back in one piece. And then it's a case of, well, tomorrow we go again, he says to himself. Right, Vince van der Halle is still about 1.4 seconds off of Boris van Haag, but there are 2 other people that have been on the move. Raphael Moreau, 27th, now runs 13th. Max Sidursky from 29th on the grid, now up 15 places, 1 behind Moreau, and is catching the Frenchman as well in front. Got 3 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. Bishop leads. Van Wyk in his wheel tracks, running in formation, and then it's a KR Sport formation just behind, with Freeman and Sidler fourth. Well, Sidler is 4th, Freeman is 3rd, and there's still an opportunity. There's now Sverre Uben closing in on Tino Sidler. Could there be a possible change for 4th spot in the offing? So I guess we're probably going to have, including this one, another 3 laps to go, taking us to 17 laps. Macaulay Bishop still leads, ahead of Van Wyk. Freeman rounding out your top 3. And another new fastest lap by Vince van der Holle, 54.874 for the young Belgian from Bouvin Power in the 372. Now Bishop starts to hit his stride on the 301 DHR Lando Norris chassis. And Sidler and Freeman, they might be teammates, but sometimes you need to go for that result. But one of the things that they can't do is take each other out. That is not a good sign if that happens between teammates. We've had a big old off somewhere on the circuit. Big old plume of dust. I did see a green flag being waved somewhere. So whoever that was that went off track, that's definitely a code brown. Clean up on aisle 3 and bring a mop along with you just to clean up the mess. 2 laps to go. Bishop and Van Wyk holding station as Freeman battles with Sidler. Sidler gets through by a whisker at turn 1 for P3, and here comes Sverre Ubben. He said, fight teammates that like to fight against each other for position. Well, I might see if I can take a potential advantage of that. Timer has hit 0. Now down to Chemin de Fer out of turn 4, through into 5. Hard on the brakes goes the 301 from Hoddesdon. And now Sverre Ubben has got right behind him the recovering Boris Verhaag, whose recovery has come a little bit too late to try and parlay that into a potential top 3. But we have just over 1.36 kilometres of racing left to go when Macaulay Bishop brings us on to the final lap of this race and the final lap of the race day. Sverre Ubben right in the wheel tracks of Harry Freeman. And can the GKS driver make it through into 4th position? No, he can't, because he's got right with him Boris Verhaag. Bishop now making his way through into turn 3 for the last time. And that could be very, very close indeed. Sverre Ubben, he tried to look for a move through into turn 4 on Harry Freeman. There was not enough room for the 348 from GKS to get through, and look who's joined him. Look at this. Vince van der Holle, with this last set of corners to go, is going to try and see if he can bring it up to 5th by the end of the checkered flag. However, Macaulay Bishop out of turn 12 into the final chicane. Bishop beats them all here in the final on day 1. And it's a Dan Holland Racing 1-2. With Thijs van Wyk finishing just over 3 tenths behind his teammate. Tino Sidler, Harry Freeman for KR Sport ran out your top 4, with GKS Levens Power having a man in the top 5, and that is Sverre Ubben. Bishop, absolutely brilliant behind the wheel. The man from Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire again racks up another victory along his illustrious career as a senior Rotax driver. But what a result for Dan Holland and his team. A 1-2 for the crew ahead of KR Sports' 3-4 effort with Tino Sidler joined by Harry Freeman. Sverre Ubben, Vince van der Holle, if he had a 20-minute final, you never know, he might have won it. He recovers to finish P6 ahead of Boris Verhaag. Bran van der Weken, Antoine Lemieux, Tom Longnoir rounds out your top 10. Max Zadursky from 29th finishes P11. Head of Rafael Moreau, who also gained 15 spots to finish in 12th. Boaz Maximov, Lucas Torder started stone dead last, finishes 1 place ahead of Vic van Kampenhout, who completes the top 15. Lars Lambers, Bastien Mesniel, Lara Koenitze, Priam Lelang, Ryan Bourguignon, Koen Willems, Arnold Sabahin, Alice Stolchamane, Bo Algis, Louis Oliver Gunther, Kenneth van Mokerke, Liam van Hecke, Jarl de Risgaard with Charlie King out with 9 laps to go, courtesy of Noisy Exhaust, and Hugo Grasteau not taking the start. Well, that wraps up an exciting day one here at Karting DD2 in Mariembourg. Firstly, a big thank you to everyone's patience over the course of the day. We have had some issues with the live stream, but we have hopefully got those rectified, ready for you tomorrow. Bishop, absolutely brilliant behind the wheel as always in Senior Rotax. Len Nyes and Jort van Wyk, standout moment. Could have been a real titanic battle had they not come into contact coming out of Escargot. Austin Aman and Josh Cook. That's another one that was an absolute belter. Bernard versus Lines in juniors. The war continues between the two young Brits. But you never know who might also join the fray. That is it from us here at Karting DD2 International Raceway for day one out of round 2 for the BNL Karting Series season for 2026. We'll be starting at around about 11:05 on the live stream on our official YouTube channel. This has been a WFR live TV production. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. We'll see you tomorrow for day 2 here in Cauvin in southern Belgium. Until then, good night.